George then claims that she was actually playing the game with everyone and she was passing the phone on to other people for them to play the game. And I don't really get what that even means, because it's either she was playing the game to distract herself from you, or that she was playing the game with other people, passed the phone along to other people, and you still kept your hands on her body, even though you claimed that the reason why you had your hands on her body to start with was trying to get her to lose the game. And if she's no longer playing the game and other people have the phone, then why did you keep your hands on her body? That's weird. People then started questioning why she got up multiple times and still went back to the couch with him. I don't really get why that means she wanted it, because to me this just means that George got multiple opportunities to keep his hands to himself. From how I understand it, both explanations, after she got back onto the couch, he his hands back on her body. She did not put his hands back on her body. This would be a completely different conversation if she got up multiple times and came back and then put his hands back on her body, but that was not what happened. She got up and came back multiple times, giving George enough chances to keep his hands to himself, but without asking. Like the first time, he put his hands on her body multiple times, again and again and again, without asking. This is a problem here, not her getting up and coming back. I find it hypocritical because people did not question it when George claimed that if Caiti told everyone her age at the second party, that there was no way for him to know, because he got up multiple times and may not have heard it when she said it. So when Caiti gets up, giving George multiple opportunities to keep his hand to himself, she wanted it. But when Caiti said her age to everyone, all of a sudden George did not hear it, and it was a long night and he got up multiple times and alcohol was involved, so he may have forgotten.
I remember being afraid to even breathe. I stayed there for a while, hoping my stillness could make me disappear. I eventually had to stand up after many minutes for it to stop. I was scared to leave or make a scene out of the embarrassment.
They then proceeded to talk about what happened in the elevator. She says that she got up to leave and he followed her. When they got to the elevator, he got in and tried to get her into the elevator by pretending the doors were not working. However, what actually happened was that they literally tried to stay up all night because they had to check out in 9 hours, and they did not feel like it was enough time to get enough rest, and they tried to stick it out. But about 3 hours later, Dream got tired and decided that he wanted to sleep, so George and Caiti left at the same time. The issue with this is that Caiti claims that he followed her out, but George claimed that Caiti actually followed him out to the elevator to say good night to him because she was trying to be nice. And if she hated him at that point, why would she follow him to the elevator if she was not going anywhere with her, because her room was actually at the same floor with Dream's? Meaning that he thought that she was gonna go somewhere with him because George understands his influence and he thought he was going to get lucky with her that night. When they get to the elevator, he pretends that it is broken, and then he tries to get her to get in to prove that it is broken. One time would have been odd, for example, if he let the elevator close and he pushed the open button and she was still there, and it'd be like, oh, how'd you get on this floor? Did you use the stairs? Second time, it would have been funny, and then he could have respectively left, but no, he kept on trying to get her to enter the elevator. And then after she insisted that she was not going to go with him, he made a sad look, puppy face or whatever, and then left. And in my opinion, that is so coercive and manipulative. And in my opinion, if Caiti did not actually have a bad experience with him, this would have piqued her interest, and she might even have entertained whatever this BS is, but she did not entertain it at all because she did not have a good experience with him. So maybe, yeah, Caiti was being respectful, was being nice about not trying to embarrass him and just wanting the night to end, but Caiti was not being nice by walking him to the elevator, and he is delusional to think that out of everything else that could have potentially happened, it was him, because he centers himself, because out of everything that happened that night, it was only for his pleasure and for his gain, and he knew exactly how much influence he had, because he would have never thought that she was leaving the room only to go with him if he did not think it was influential, if he did not think he was influential enough to do that, and if this had not worked for him before. I just am surprised on how he saw other rooms past the elevator, and then Caiti was going with, why would she go with him? There were so many other possibilities that could have potentially happened, but he did not account for those possibilities because he, in my opinion, has probably done this before, and in my opinion, it probably worked for him.
I went to leave, and the older guy decided to leave with me. We walked to the elevators, where I didn't get on. He then pretended that the elevator was broken, and that he couldn't leave, telling me to get in the elevator to prove it was broken. And then after a few minutes, he ended the night with a "guess I'm going now," leaving with a wounded puppy look.
George swears that he did not mean anything by asking her to get into the elevator, but if he had asked multiple times and then proceeded to pretend that the door was broken trying to get her to enter, then he clearly had other thoughts after she entered the elevator. I'm not here to speculate what those thoughts were, but if she got into the elevator, it magically worked. What was going to happen after that? When she's on a different floor, is he going to leave and then let her go back to her floor, or is he going to invite her back to his room? I'm not here to speculate what those actions meant, but I just hate that he expects people to believe that he was doing nothing suspicious when he was trying to get her to enter the elevator, especially by pretending that it was broken, knowing that it could have piqued her curiosity enough to get her to enter. And I swear that if she had gotten it, it would magically have been fixed, and she would not be able to leave until she got onto his floor, and then would be forced to go back to her floor again. Another issue I have with this is when Caiti does not talk about the entire day and only focuses on the assault, she's lying. But when George lies and tries to create a narrative by saying that she was the one who walked him to the elevator because she was trying to be nice, his integrity is not questioned. In my opinion, Caiti is not lying by saying that he followed her out, because let's try to think about the other things that could have been happening at the same time. George and Dream are friends, so if Dream was tired, then it would make sense that Caiti would be one of the first or one of the 4 remaining people, excluding Dream, to leave, because she's not friends with them. So when someone like George would stay a little longer to say goodbye, while someone like Caiti would have no issue leaving immediately. So she was probably the first person to leave, then George probably caught up to her, which is why she thought he was following her out. And if they were not walking together to use the elevator and she was just walking him to be nice, then where would she have been going after walking him to the elevator? If George is claiming that she was walking him to the elevator, then is she going back to Dream's room? Where would she be going after walking him nicely to the elevator? This shows even more that George did not think that she was going anywhere else but with him if he had succeeded into getting her into that elevator. This is just my opinion. Caiti didn't say any of this. It's just me trying to see if there's any more context to what they're both trying to say. After the second after party in Dream's room, Caiti claims that George still DM'd her and was being aggressively flirty while he was DMing her, and she does not know how to feel about it because she acknowledges that what he did that night was wrong, but then she also knows how she feels about the fact that this is somebody she idolizes and someone that influences her, and she does not know why she's feeling negative about the interaction, because she is forcing herself to feel grateful, especially with them still paying some attention to her even after all this happened, because usually it would be like this happens to you one night and then the next night they pretend like they don't know you.
I assured myself that I was just being sensitive about it all, that it wasn't a big deal, but assuring only can go so far. I felt dirty in a way that I couldn't wash off.
Caiti does get to the point that she could no longer convince herself that she wanted this interaction, and this interaction has fully manifested into a dirty feeling that she cannot wash off. She then talks about how her heart stopped beating when she saw him, and she tried to smile at him, but he acted like he did not remember her, which is what abusers do when they feel like they no longer have use for the victims. If he felt like nothing happened, he would have said hi to her, but I guess he no longer had a good enough memory of that night and the weeks that followed it to know who she was. And in my opinion, George has always known what he did to Caiti was wrong, and he is too much of a coward to face her.
But the fact that a year later, I can feel my heartbeat stop at the sight of him, and he probably couldn't even make out my face in a crowd. I can't stop thinking about who I was before it all, who I'll never be again.
This is the last part of her first live stream. She talks about how this incident has affected her and her connections with people, and how she's very sensitive and feels things very strongly, so she still remembers every touch. She talks about how she feels even more anger towards the world and how much her personality has changed, and these are the things that she reads from her diary, by the way. She did not say it like that. And she talks about how this is more than her, and how even though she does not want people to be defined by this is more about people in general, and how people have come to her to talk about their experience, and how she has always promised to be open about her life to her friends, and she just could no longer keep this to herself.
I changed after that. I believed life wasn't fair. I was naive, and maybe sometimes to a fault, but I could only wish it lasted longer. I miss not knowing. I used to be kind. I'm angry a lot of the time now at that person, at myself.
Before addressing George's video, I do want to go through my perceived bias against George, because to me, it is easier to prove that you did not essay somebody than it is to prove that you were essayed by somebody. And just like how Katie only has a voice, George has screenshots and he had time to prepare a statement. But in my opinion, it doesn't feel like a statement. It feels like an attack against Katie. And that's obviously like just even more reasons why I don't care about anything he has to say. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but this is what Cooper has to say about the coaching and Brooke's situation, which is somehow similar to Katie's and George's situation. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but it just proves that when you're addressing situations like this, you don't go on the defense by attacking the person who's accusing you, and you definitely don't address the situation by trying to pick out irrelevant things or bring up irrelevant situations. The whole party does not matter.
For some reason, she has said that we were together every single second of every single day. That is not true. We weren't. I'm going to show you all the days that we saw each other.
Yeah, that's the next thing that he's talking about. Not his mom being dead, not his fake accent, not anything else he ever lied about, but literally him saying, "Oh, interesting, Brooke. We spent every second together? Huh, then explain how you weren't here for one day." I don't know how he thought this was a good idea.
George starts off his first video talking about how he has turned off any ability to monetize off what he's about to talk about, and if he does monetize off anything, he will be donating the money to charity, which is where I feel like I personally disagree with wealthy people donating their money to charity, because rest assured, once tax season rolls around, his accountant is going to use this charity donation as a way to get a tax write-off. I don't really know how taxes work in the UK, but if it's anything similar to the United States, then George is benefiting from this charity donation. So to me, that just means nothing. And from what I've looked up, I don't really know him as a charitable person or a person who actively donates to charities publicly. So him donating to charity now just because he's been accused of something this serious is so disingenuous, and it just irritates me off the bat.
Alright, hey guys, I want to start off the stream by saying that this stream is completely demonetized. I have turned off ads, I have turned off donations. However, I cannot turn off subs, but just thumbs up. But regardless, any sub money that is generated during the stream, I will donate to charity.